COVID-19 recovery, helping Hoosiers recover financially, physically, mentally, and socially through services provided by Community Action of Greater Indianapolis. Services include energy assistance, child care, family support, education, training programs, transitional housing, and food assistance. COVID-19 recovery.
Hi, I'm Kelly Vaughn, and welcome to COVID-19 Recovery, where we focus on things dealing with this crazy COVID-19 pandemic and how to get you through it. And I'm joined by...
Hello, this is Al Bracken with the CAGI board and co-host with Kelly. And we'd like to welcome everyone this morning that's tuning in to hear some additional perspectives on the aftermath of COVID-19. A little bit later, we're going to announce some current events that CAGI is partaking in with a community pandemic wellness program. But right now, we want to introduce our host, Nurse Sonya Samuels. Now, the reason we have Sonya on here today is quite unique. She's going to do a couple different segments, and her first one is going to be her experiences with COVID-19 as a frontline nurse in RN in the hospital setting, in the long-term care setting, and maybe even possibly the home care setting. But she's a first-line hero responder actually throughout the Midwest. The second part that Sonya is going to talk about is her perspective as a entrepreneur and business owner in the healthcare industry in the cosmetic and elective surgery areas. And she's going to give a perspective on that from a huge upsurge in cases and procedures from individuals that have experienced the COVID-19 epidemic. So having said that, Sonya, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, and we'll get started from there.
Great. Awesome. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Nurse Sonya. I am here from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have been a nurse, I feel like all my life. Definitely one of my childhood dreams and goals was to always just take care of others, make others smile, especially in their time of need and unhappiness. I believe that was my God-given passion, and that is what I pursued. And it's just a blessing, to say the least. So I do have over 20 years of experience as a nurse and also in the healthcare industry. So the pandemic, working as a nurse, especially with so many years of experience, the pandemic was definitely a shocking, life-changing experience for a lot of healthcare providers. Nothing that I've ever experienced before in my years of nursing. It was very, very, very challenging, very different, very, very, it's just the humanity of it all that shook us all as humans. Every race, every creed, every culture was definitely impacted from COVID-19 in some form, shape, or some type of way, just on different levels. So working the front line, the decision, it was not something that I felt like I thought twice about. It was something that you just feel like you have to get in there and you have to help. When we as healthcare providers, we take an oath. As frontliners, we take oaths. And when you take that oath, it never leaves you, whether you're retired, whether you're new. It's just something that you're just passionate about. You don't think twice about it. So I was blessed with a lot of, not so much opportunities, but they needed help everywhere. I decided to take a little leap and go to the Detroit, Michigan area, where I spent 12 weeks, 9 out of 12 weeks, before I could stand it. It was a 12-week assignment, and I spent 9 of those weeks in the ICU unit all over the hospital. Wherever they needed me, I was there. So just to give a little bit about the pandemic. The pandemic was definitely, like I said, it was life-changing. Working the front line was very surreal. Nothing that I ever experienced, nothing that I can honestly say that I don't think about it day to day, especially as we are currently still just, passing through the pandemic, but just it's just something to not take advantage of when you can literally breathe in clean air. A lot of us went through different things, but for the most part, healthcare was changed in a drastic way worldwide. And some of those challenges were as follows. I'm going to go into just a few. One thing that the healthcare systems across the world, they put out mandates for nurses, for doctors, for CNAs, traveling nurses, wherever they needed. We were getting emails every day. We were getting text messages every day. And it wasn't about for me personally, it wasn't about the compensation. A lot of us left our families. We left our children. We left our current state, whatever that was in, to go and offer our support, our love, and our care, to care for others. And we still have people out there that have been on the front line from day one. I have lost a few personal friends who have worked the front line, and it's been a challenging thing. One thing too, as healthcare providers, we all came from different walks of life. That was not our number one goal, was to keep them alive, as safe, and efficient as we could. It was very challenging. A lot of our patients, they died alone. That was very challenging, to say the least. So the healthcare system had to change really fast, really fast. And things that we were not used to, where our family members were not able to be with their loved ones. I believe that was one of the hardest and most challenging things, to just listen to the family members on the phone. They would call very scared, very worried about their loved ones, not being able to hear mom, grandma, or dad. A lot of us, we would take our extra phones and, gloving up, and we would, FaceTime or do some type of communication, or call them at the end of the shift and let them know that their loved one was either okay or on their way.
Okay, Sonya, with all the experiences and everything that you've seen on the front lines, describe to our audience an actual description of what the front line looks like. I think we hear that a lot, but there's a misconception of what the front line is. And the way I see it is when you're working directly with patients, et cetera, et cetera. But in your opinion, let's talk about how you define the front line, both in the hospital and long-term care setting, what it looks like.
Absolutely. So the hospital setting, working the front line. So we would come in to our design areas that we were given. You check in and you get an assignment. Once you check in on your floor, you get an assignment. That assignment, there are no rules when it comes to the pandemics. For instance, the nurse to patient ratio, that is different. That was very different. But these patients were very ill, very, very ill. Not your usual cases that we've seen, very ill. They could be okay one minute and not okay in the same hour. So we would report on to our shift. We would do a huddle, and then we would break off. Okay, so the front line, you would have there would be one person. Now, mind you, where I went, there was travelers from all over. So we're all strangers, all different walks of life. We're all strangers. So we were like a team of strangers, just trying to, have that one human goal and to keep those patients safe and alive, or not so much safe and alive, but if they were passing in the most passing way, if that makes any sense. So the front line, the assignments were given out, and we all just joined together. No one, we all, that one goal, keep them alive or let them, pass gracefully, if that makes any sense. So the front line is it can be challenging, especially when you have the codes. We don't leave each other alone, so there was not a time where I was working by myself. We teamed up. Okay, so if my patients were stable and my teammates' patients were not stable, I joined with that other nurse, and I tried to help stabilize hers before one of mine went bad. Okay, so it was very sometimes coming in, we had a routine where you would scrub in and you put your garments on. We had separate locker rooms, and by the time the shift was over, a lot of us have already changed twice. And some of us would just sit around in the parking lot, just, taking it in, breathing it in, hoping for the next day to be somewhat better.
Yeah. Sonya, could I ask you, you mentioned you lost some friends, and I assume there could be many. Who are a few that you'd like to mention and remember, and how do you think you survived?
Absolutely. Rest in peace to, I call her Sister Kathy. She was one of my dear friends here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we worked a lot of the nursing homes together. She was one of our top nurses in the agency that I worked for. I went to call when I got back here to Indianapolis just to pick up a regular nursing home assignment. I called my agency and I'm like, hey, put me with Kathy. And I was told that she was sick. She was, she was ill. And a few days later, we were told that she didn't make it. But she was one of our very, very hardworking nurses of a long time. But rest her soul, she definitely did not die in vain. And mentally, my mental state, it was the only thing that kept me going. I believe that's where we can fall short as healthcare providers. We don't get the help that we need therapeutic wise, mentally. If your mental state, it's a lot to take on other people's problems and deal with your own problems at the same time. So a lot of healthcare providers, they do suffer from a lot of things that no one really talks about. The sleeping at night, just hearing the beeping, the codes, things like that. You need to take a break and seek help if you need help. When do you know that you need help? Sometimes you don't know.
Did you ever think about quitting, if nothing else, in order to survive?
Quitting was the last thing I wanted to do. Just being able to mentally be okay. The mental was the first thing. It's always mental first. Even now, even with dealing with our patients and their family members, just tackling the mental first. Okay. So I knew I needed a break. I knew I need to balance it out and just, veer to something else, something different. Keeping that healthy mentality, the only way you can last.
Okay. So I think we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll be talking more to Sonya about her journey as a nurse. And also, I think, what did you say, Al? Cosmetics, something? So you got my attention.
Yeah, cosmetic surgery and aftercare.
All right. More of that when we come back.
During the COVID-19 emergency, community action agencies are open and here to ensure the well-being of families across the country. For over 50 years, we've been delivering life-changing services, solutions, and stability.
Contact your local community action agency serving Boone, Hamilton, Hendricks, and Marion counties for help during the COVID-19 emergency. We can assist with masks, hand sanitizers, food, shelter, transportation, and more. Apply today.
Welcome back. We have Nurse Sonya Samuels here as our guest today, this morning. And I wanted to make a couple announcements on programming for CAGI and Community Pandemic Awareness Initiative. We have a couple events coming up this month. On the 24th of July, we will be at the New Zion New Zion Tabernacle on 2602 LaSalle from 10 to 3. We have a community health fair there. And on July the 31st, we will be at New Vision Baptist Church and with the SEND, S-E-N-D, CDC, with a comprehensive health fair community event there as well. Part of what CAGI is doing and sponsoring for the rest of the year and into 2022 will be these community type health fairs and activities and wellness events all over Central Indiana, especially in our senior citizen buildings. Having said that, we want to bring Nurse Sonya back and to talk a little bit more about her post COVID-19 pandemic experience. And real quick, Sonya, one of the last questions that you addressed was how you're doing in the aftermath of COVID-19. And then tell us just a little bit about that and your other career as a nurse in the cosmetic and elective surgery aftercare area, which is quite interesting. Sonya goes back and forth between Indianapolis and Miami and Bermuda, I think. She goes everywhere. She's all over the place. So Sonya, tell us a little bit about how you're doing in your aftercare after COVID, being on the front line, and then tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the cosmetic surgery aftercare.
Absolutely. Great. So for me personally, it's all about mentality, just, staying hopeful, optimistic, prayerful, and not taking advantage of being able to wake up and breathe in and out. So I take that one day at a time, and still passionate about helping others as they are going through day to day. Absolutely. So my balance is, I am a Christian. My balance, number one, is God, and just keeping my mentality as stable as I can. A lot of us had to stop working. We worked from home. The children were affected. So it took a large trend in a different industry. And that industry is the cosmetic and elective industry, where women and men, mostly women, some men as well, are we're receiving more elective procedures for weight loss. That is, an example would be your tummy tuck procedures.
Now you have my attention.
Liposuction, BBL, which is your Brazilian butt lift and transfer, where the surgeons take the fat from usually your abdomen and your back, the fat, and transfer it into a different area, as well as breast augmentation. So those procedures are on an all-time high all across the world. Absolutely interesting. In my opinion, I believe that quarantine a lot of people gained weight during quarantine. They're still gaining weight. And we always pushed working out and staying healthy, but you can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting, hearing some of your not adventures, but experiences, because if we all think back before COVID, we know of celebrities that died doing cosmetic surgeries. Kanye West's mother, for one, she had passed away from a procedure. What are you seeing a drastic increase in cases post COVID-19? And tell us a little bit about what your clientele, what they're relaying to you on why they're getting their surgeries.
Okay, so my clientele in the post-operative surgery world, the 40 to 60 generation is at an all-time high, because at that age, you are more settled. Most of our ladies, they have raised their children. They have come to an agreement with themselves that they want to either better themselves for themselves and boost their confidence. They want to just take that time out and do something for them.
Wait a minute. I want to know what happened to the phrase "body designed by the wisdom of time." So if you're saying that the group is from 40 to 60, have they forgotten all of that, or just what's driving them to the surgery table?
It's that age where for you men, you hit a midlife crisis. For women, we're just all over the place emotionally. So, it's that peak where you want to do something, get a nip and tuck, and just do something. You raise your children, or if you not raise your children, you're at some point in life where you just want to feel that you want something different, something new.
Are you getting folks that are, let's talk about the after COVID-19. Are you getting more people that say that because they were shut in, they had longer time to reflect and look in the mirror and decide that they needed to do something? Is that what?
Absolutely. We are seeing that, as well as the increase in funding that people have received over the year. So we're seeing that, as well as the high influence of social media and the music that has changed as well. So it's such a different variety of things that plays a part in someone's mental state when they want to go and take the risk to have the elective and cosmetic surgery procedures done.
So are you saying folks are taking their STEMI and getting a tummy tuck?
Well, At some point, I do believe our highest months were February, March, and April. We were overbooked. Our surgeons were overworked. They were overbooked. And for Miami, that is a 365, 24/7. There's no break in Miami's market. I call Miami the magnet for the world for surgery, post-op and elective surgery. Now on the rise, we have Chicago, we have Atlanta, and Texas, as well as the countries, Dominican Republic and Tijuana, Mexico, Cali, Colombia.
So as far as you mentioned tummy tuck, but these days, are they doing liposuction? Are they, because I know you can freeze fat. What are people doing now?
Everyone wants a bigger butt.
Forget the fat and the stomach. They just want yeah.
That's probably the number one surgery, as I would say, the BBL, which is the Brazilian fat transfer, and then the tummy tuck. There's some pros and cons to both. But at the end of the day, I've seen people go from the confidence and the boost in some of these women that we work with from day to day is tremendously amazing.
Well,
and men.
I will admit that years ago I had lipo, and I would just encourage people that, when you're removing fat in one area, you have to remember that if you gain weight in another area, the weight's going to tend to go there where the fat cells. You have to really think it through what you're doing to make sure that your proportion stays in place. So I just want to pass that tip on, because that was a challenge for me, and that was 1994, many years ago. And that's why I was wondering, like, how are people doing things today? Are they even doing things, liposuction with a cannula? And I know there's about the fat freezing and all of that. So
yes. So one of the biggest challenges that we are facing is the BMI. Just making sure that these clients are doing what they need to do prior to surgery. Okay, so there's a list of things, but the top three, I would say, would be the BMI. That means making sure your fat to your inches and your ratio is within a safe range for cosmetic surgery. Now, what I usually suggest when I do my consultation, if you are higher than 36%, 38 percentile on your BMI, you need to look at something like a Roux-en-Y or like a gastric sleeve before you look into doing just liposuction. The more you're under the knife, the longer you're under that surgical knife, anesthesia, whether it's general or localized anesthesia, it could present complications.
Okay. So when they have the increase in the rear end, what do patients say that feels like? And does it really stay? Because I've heard in the past, again, the science has changed so much over the last 20 years that if it's not properly put in under the muscle or something, it doesn't always stay. So is it permanent?
Now this is my some opinion. Now I'm sure there are experts out there, but absolutely not permanent, no. And it's one of the most dangerous surgeries, believe it or not, the transfer. There are things that can happen with the transfer, but for the most part, I would say within 5 years, you can actually have a drop in your fat as it starts to settle in your body. It will decrease, and some women go back for another round after 5 to 8 years.
5 to 8 years is not bad. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah. Just very quickly,
Kelly, you don't plan on going to Miami no time soon. You got a lot of questions on that.
I don't think that's one of my problems.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I might drop some off in Miami. No, it's interesting you bring that up because I had liposuction years ago, and it was primarily in the stomach area. Long story, but actually, my rear end is crazy. I'm talking about this on television. It's actually that was the shift in the weight. So just realize when you do one area, if you have 1 million fat cells in your stomach and they take out 500,000 and you gain weight, it's going to go to other areas, and you have to be prepared. They could go to the breast area, it could go to the rear end. In my case, it went to the rear end. So I had it done just in an indirect way, and I know she knows what I'm talking about because the weight can shift. You can also go to places that you don't want it to go. Your arms get too heavy, so you want to do the minimal amount and to really watch that whole proportion thing. But what does it feel like? It just seems like somebody put something there. The way you sit down would feel different.
So the pain is pretty excruciating. It depends on the pain threshold of the client as well, for the most part. And then the bruising. For Miami, for the United States, you can put back in 4 to 5 liters. For out of the country, they can do 7 to 15. I had someone actually have 15 liters of fat taken off. Right. So this is such a broad topic. I know I'm looking forward to doing a continuation of this because I know a lot of people need to know the what ifs, the what befores, you know, the afters, especially. But we always try to push our clients to maintain health and wellness. If they had those nip and tucks done, please maintain it with health and wellness. Some people go back for multiple rounds. Sometimes the surgeon makes a oopsie and that's a revision. So there's a lot of different things that go into these procedures.
Before we run out of time, Sonya, can you tell us how our viewers can contact you if they have anything planned? And then we can, if we have enough time. I'm sorry, Kelly, if I cut you off there. Let's just tell our viewers how they can contact you if they plan on going to Miami and going under the knife, or if they're thinking about it, they need consultation.
Absolutely. You can contact me at 1-800-939-4139 or 317-436-8735, info@opulentbodiesinc.com.
Okay.
We're probably just about out of time, but Sonya, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story of surviving the pandemic while on the front lines, and sharing your story and then enlightening us on things that people can do to you know, get their self-esteems back after going through a really rough year. And again, we're not through it yet. I think it's going to be a continuous thing for some time, this whole recovery process.
Absolutely. And I think the takeaway here is that it especially on this aftercare, especially on the plastic surgery, it's something that warrants, it's very serious, and it warrants a lot of thought and contemplation and consultation before it's done. Because, you know, for obvious reasons, I don't believe that individuals many times take it seriously, and then they're surprised when they get down there. So Sonya, tell us your number again, so if they have any questions, they can give you a call.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and give my local number out, and that's 317-436-8735.
Okay. All right. Kelly, anything else?
That's it. We appreciate you coming on, Sonya Samuels.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Who's been on the front lines and continues in that battle. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
During the COVID-19 emergency, community action agencies are open and here to ensure the well-being of families across the country. For over 50 years, we've been delivering life-changing services, solutions, and stability.
Serving Boone, Hamilton, Hendricks, and Marion counties, be sure to visit our website to learn about employment and education opportunities, food, housing, transportation assistance, and more. Apply today by calling 317-396-1800.